good evening. Welcome to Cook Along with... Okay, don't worry about Coach. Hi, good evening. Sorry, welcome to Cook Along with Chris. This evening we're going to make a vegetarian dish that can also be a vegan dish if you substitute a few of the ingredients. So we're going to do a baked aubergine lasagna with saffron sauce or turmeric sauce, whichever you can get hold of, and char-grilled artichokes. So we're just going to run through the ingredients. So we've got some double cream, some artichoke heart, some milk, a glass of white wine, some vegetable stock, some flour, some butter, some washed rocket, some mozzarella, some pasta sheets. I'm using fresh. If you're using dry, we just need to cook them a little bit longer. An onion, some mushrooms. I couldn't find button mushrooms, so I'm just using a selection of mushrooms. I'm using turmeric, so I couldn't find any saffron. Some herbs, some aubergines, a courgette, some tomatoes, some garlic, tomato sauce or tomato juice, and some peppers. So what we're going to do first, just while we're waiting, we're going to start cooking at 1/2 But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to drain our mozzarella, because we don't want it too watery. So we're going to take it out the bag, and we're just going to pop it onto a piece of tissue paper, and we're just going to leave that. Might need a couple of bits, so we're just going to drain that while we're waiting. So we're just going to leave that on the tissue paper, just to let it. Just be careful it doesn't stick, but it should be fine. Just going to drain it. And we're just going to leave that out of the water so it comes nice and dry. Otherwise it makes your aubergine really watery. We're also going to peel our onion while we're waiting. So we're just going to peel the onion. Just while we're waiting. Sorry about the weather today, it's not very sunny, is it? We're just going to peel the onion while we're waiting. And we're going to peel the garlic. That's our onion ready peeled. And the same with the garlic. Just going to peel the garlic. Garlic's peeled. So now what we're going to do, the equipment we need. So we need a baking tray with some greaseproof paper on it. We need a char-grilled pan, if you have one, if not a frying pan. And we're going to need 4 frying pans. I have 4 saucepans, sorry. So what we're going to do while we're waiting, we're going to get our biggest pan, and we're just going to fill it up with hot water. Just going to get the lid. This is to blanch our pasta. We're just going to fill it up. So then we're going to have a small pan for our bechamel, a pan for our ratatouille, and a pan for the sauce. The oven, we've put the oven on 180, so it's getting warm while we're waiting. Just going to put the fire on. Just going to pop some salt in the water. So we've got our pan of water. We're just going to bring that to the boil. That will do our pasta in a minute. So we've probably got about. We're just going to get the aubergines ready. So that's the first things we're going to do. Put the onion there, garlic. So get all the veg ready on our section. If you haven't done it, you can wash your mushrooms. I've washed mine already, and you can wash the herbs. We can open the packet. Pasta. We were going to make fresh pasta, but we thought we wouldn't have enough time, so next time. And obviously next week, it's the weekend before Father's Day. We're going to be doing one of my favourite dishes, which is mini shepherd's pie. And use next week either rump of lamb, loin, whatever lamb you can find from your local butcher. Obviously not a big joint, we're looking for a small joint just for cooking time. And some lamb mince. But I'll put the shopping list up next Tuesday for you. So if you're allowed to and it's in your bubble and it's safe to do so, you could make something nice for your dad to make it for. So what we're going to do, we're just going to wait till 1/2. A couple minutes, so the water's on boiling. Oil's on, oven's on. We're all ready. Just going to tidy up while we're waiting. Keep washing our hands, obviously. I think it's now past. So we're going to start. So good evening, welcome to Cook Along with Chris. We're going to make a baked aubergine lasagna with a difference, individual ones, with a saffron or turmeric sauce and char-grilled artichokes. So first of all, obviously, what we've got the oven on 180. We've put one big pan of salt. Got our aubergines, our courgettes, our peppers, our tomatoes, our onions, our garlic, salt, pepper. On this side we've got mushrooms, tomato juice, turmeric or saffron, artichokes, double cream, milk, flour, butter, veg stock, white wine and mozzarella. If you just joined, we're going to dry the mozzarella, the first job. So what we're now going to do, we're now going to get our aubergines. We're going to cut a very small amount, small bit of the aubergine. Now we're going to basically do about a hand, depending on the size of your aubergine, about a portion size. So we're going to cut roughly there. So it sits up. Okay, so we've got two. Just going to trim that one a little bit. We're also going to cut the tops off. Okay, you might have a bit of extra aubergine, so you can use that later. Now what we're going to do, we're going to carefully cut round our aubergine. It's very important not to make a hole in the aubergine. Cut it in 4, but you're not cutting through the skin. So I'll show you again. So run the knife around. So basically taking out the inside of the aubergine without making a hole. We're cutting through. Cut a few pieces. This is all going to go in our ratatouille. So now you get a spoon, and we're just literally going to scoop out the centre of the aubergine. You can see. Going to scoop out the aubergine. If you do make a hole, we're just going to you can just put a slice of aubergine at the bottom. It's just if you've got a hole, all the filling comes out. So just get a knife, just run, we want it as thin as possible around the outside. So there we go. So you can see, got a nice hollow aubergine. I'm going to pop that on the side. I'm going to do the same with the second one. So again, just scoop them out. As you can see, it comes out really easily. So just going to take out any excess. Now what we're going to do, we're going to put them on our baking tray. We're going to put some salt. A little bit of pepper. Some olive oil inside. Okay, a little bit of olive oil. We're going to put our 2 tops on. And again, a little bit of olive oil on the top. Okay, now you can, I'm going to do 2 different ways. So you can either use dried herbs, just pop some dried herbs inside. Or obviously you can use fresh herbs. So I've just got some basil, rosemary and thyme. We're just going to pop them inside. Now we're going to put them into the oven at 180 degrees for approximately about 12 minutes. I'll just put the timer on. I'm going to pop them in. So we're basically just making them a little bit soft. I'm going to pop them in. Right, so now while they're cooking, we're going to put the fire on. And we're going to make our ratatouille. So we've got the onion. Okay, so we're going to slice the onion in half. Half is for later, half is for now. So we're literally going to remember to keep your fingers behind the knife. Just going to finely dice the onion. Okay, I'm going to slice the garlic. You can either crush it or slice it. I'm going to slice it today. Just give it a little slip punch. chop. This is rustic ratatouille we're making now. So we're chopping the garlic. So in our pan we're going to add some oil. Nice lot of olive oil. So we're going to put our onions and our garlic in first. So onions and garlic first. Then we're going to dice our peppers. So we're going to cut the peppers. So like a 1 centimetre dice. Red, green and yellow. I couldn't find yellow, so I've got red, orange and green. A nice little slice. Just keep an eye on the onions and the garlic. So obviously we're taking the seeds out, so I'm going to pop the peppers inside. Now we're going to get our trimmings or our aubergine and just slice that up. Again, it's rustic, so don't worry too much. Get all the fillings. And add our aubergine to the ratatouille mix. Might not need all of it. Then we're going to get our washed courgette. Going to cut it in half, and then we're going to cut it in quarters, and again chunky. We're doing a nice rustic ratatouille. You want the pieces too big because they're going to go inside your aubergine in a minute. So we're going to pop the courgettes in with the aubergine. Just check, you might at this point just need a little bit of oil. Some salt and pepper. And we've got our okay, now we've got our cherry tomatoes. We're going to cut them into 4. If you've got plum tomatoes, again, just dice them. Pips, everything goes inside. Okay, if you've got a little bit of mixed herbs, you can add a bit of mixed herbs or fresh herbs. Just pop them inside. I'm going to give that a little mix. I'm just going to let that cook down a little bit. So once it's starting to sweat, we're then going to add the tomato juice and some fresh basil. I'm just going to leave that there for a minute. We're going to get some fresh basil, which I washed earlier. Just going to get a few leaves of basil. Just going to check on our water. It's boiling nicely. Just going to take the lid off. So we've just got some nice fresh basil. I'm going to pop that in with the ratatouille. The important is that ratatouille just needs to be cooked. It doesn't need to be overcooked. It's going to go in the oven for about 20 minutes after. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we've got some tomato juice. I'm going to add that inside. I'm going to let that cook down now. So all the nice flavours of the vegetables are going to go inside. So it's like a classic ratatouille. If you have any of this mixture left, it's amazing with penne pasta. We're just going to let that cook down. While that's cooking, we're going to make the sauce. So we're going to put the fire on. we've got another pan. We're going to slice the remaining of the onion. We're going to pass it, so it doesn't really matter how you slice it. Our mushrooms, again, button mushrooms work better, but I couldn't find any, so today we've got some shiitake and some chestnuts and a few Japanese Sumiji mushrooms. We're just going to slice them, it's only for the sauce. Again, a little bit of olive oil in the pan. So we've got our mushrooms, we're going to add a little sprig of rosemary. So now, the important bit is you're going to add straight away either the saffron or the turmeric. If you're using saffron, literally just a couple of strands. If you're using turmeric, you can add a nice big pinch, sorry. And what we want to do, we want the spices to caramelise with the onions in the pan. That's why we're adding it at the beginning. If you've got the saffron, this is when the important time when it brings the colour of the saffron out. You should be able to smell the turmeric or the saffron. Just sweating that. About 5 minutes our aubergines will be coming out. So again, we're just, as you can see, it's starting to form a nice ratatouille. All the nice different colours and flavours inside. We're going to keep that cooking down. Back to our sauce. So you can see it's starting to caramelise on the outside. That's what we want. So I'm just going to add a fraction more oil. Mushrooms like to eat up the oil. No, the mushrooms go in the sauce, not in the ratatouille. Okay? So in the ratatouille we've got the peppers, the aubergine, the tomatoes, the garlic and the onions, and then the tomato sauce and the fresh basil. In the sauce we've got the remaining of the onion, the mushrooms, and then either the turmeric or the saffron. So when that starts to caramelise, we're going to get our glass of wine, and you should get that nice. So what we want to do, we want the wine to nearly reduce. You can see the lovely colour that sauce is turning. So we want the wine to reduce by half, and then we're going to add the vegetable stock. The sauce is just going to get a bit hot in it. So our ratatouille, look, it's all breaking down. So you want it just as the courgettes are cooked. Our saffron sauce is just reducing. So now we're getting a bit complicated. We've got 3 things on the go. So we're going to get our milk. Now the classic way, we're making the quick way to make bechamel sauce. So we're going to put the heat on. We're not making a separate... We're not going to make a separate roux. We're going to do the all-in-one method of the bechamel. So if you wanted to, you could use soya milk while you're using fresh milk. So I'm going to put the milk in the pan. We're going to add the butter straight away and the flour straight away. And it's not the classic way to make it, but it works just as good. We're going to get our whisk. And we're going to keep whisking it. The important is to keep stirring it. So the butter, the fat content and the flour, if you keep whisking it, you won't get it lumpy. You normally would melt the butter and the flour, make a roux, and gradually add the milk. This way is quicker. You can see our ratatouille is nearly ready. So we're just going to keep stirring. The good thing is everything's happening at the same time. So as you can see on the sauce, the wine's reduced by half. So we're now going to add our vegetable stock. So again, that's just a vegetable cube with 200 mils of hot water. We're going to bring that to the boil, and again we're going to reduce that down by half. So you've got the nice flavour of the turmeric on my one, you've got the flavour of the vegetables, you've got the white wine reduced, and then you've got the stock. Right, as you can see, this is the fat in the bechamel. The butter's melted, there's no lumps. Now it's just important to keep stirring it so it doesn't go lumpy. You can leave it for a couple of seconds. Our ratatouille, I would say, is nearly there. The courgettes are starting to change colour. I'm just going to add a fraction bit more fresh basil to it. The time has gone, so that's to check our aubergines. So I'm going to open the aubergine, and you can see they've just started to go soft around the outside, so that's perfect. Just going to swap the heat over. So I'm turning our ratatouille down because it's ready. So we've got our ratatouille in one pan, we've got boiling water in the other pan, our veg sauce is cooking. Our bechamel's starting to get thick. Sauce is reducing. Just to slow it down a little bit, I was going to cook the pasta, but let's finish the bechamel first. Now it's not in the ingredients, but if you have a little bit of cheese or a little bit of parmesan, we're just going to add a little bit of that to the sauce. You don't have to. I just like to add a little bit of extra flavour. But only if you've got it. You can use vegan cheese if you're... But look at the sauce. Look at the amazing colour coming from the sauce. The nice bright yellow colour. So as you're cooking, the flour will cook in the bechamel because it's cooking in the boiling water, in the boiling milk. It's not the classic way, so some chefs won't like it, but it will taste exactly the same. Some people won't agree because they're very old-fashioned, but when you're cooking at home, this way works just as good. As you can see, it's starting to thicken. Starting to thicken up. You can see it's starting to thick, starting to bubble. So you can see it's starting to thicken up. The importance is to keep stirring it. As I said, this is not the classic roux recipe. This is a quicker way to make it at home. As you can see, it's nice and thick, so I'm going to turn the heat off, and I'm just going to grab a little bit of... So if you've got some cheddar cheese, or you've got a little bit of parmesan, just going to add a little bit of parmesan to it. And you can see there's no lumps. It will not taste of raw flour, because the milk has cooked it with the butter. There you go. So we can turn that one off. Our ratatouille we're going to turn off. Okay, so our sauce now, just going to check the quality of our sauce. Yeah, we're just going to let it reduce a little bit more. Right, so now we're going to go on to the pasta. If you've made fresh pasta, or you've bought the fresh egg pasta, it's only going to take a few minutes. So you're literally going to drop it into the water. I would do one at a time. If you're using the packet dried one, it will take a little bit longer. This will take a couple of minutes. So the aubergines were in the oven for 12 minutes the first time, just 12 minutes. They're going to go back in. It's basically just, if you come and have a look, it's just to make the aubergine a little bit soft, so the skin ready for when we fill them. So as I said, if you're using dried pasta, you will need to cook it a little bit longer. If you've got homemade pasta or fresh pasta, literally a couple of minutes. We're going to take it out onto a plate, pour the water off. I'm not cooling it down. You can cool it down if you want to. I'm used to using it warm. So I'm going to pop another piece in. Literally just 2 minutes in boiling salted water. I'm just going to change my chopping board. Just going to get my white chopping board. As I said, there's quite a lot going on, so I'm sure your kitchen's a bit of a mess at the moment. But the taste will be amazing. It's just, you can obviously do, if you're at home afterwards and you want to watch it back, you can do one stage at a time. You don't need to do all four at the same time. So I've got enough pasta, so I'm going to turn the water off. Just going to pop that in the sink. I see our sauce is reducing. So now what we're going to do, we're going to lay our pasta on the chopping board. Now there's two ways of doing this. I'm going to show you two ways. Okay? So the first way is if you've got a cutter or a glass or something, we're going to cut out circles of pasta. Okay? So we've got some shuttle. If you don't have a cutter, then we're going to cut squares of pasta out. So I'm just going to do squares of pasta. Okay. So now our next job is we're going to get the mozzarella and we're going to slice it really thin. We're going to slice, need about 3 slices per aubergine. Okay, I can't count, so there's one more. Right, so hopefully all your pasta's cooked. We're now going to we're just going to go back to the sauce and check that it's not reducing too much. Right, so now we're going to get our aubergines, build it on the tray. Shouldn't be hot now. So we've got our 2 aubergines. We're going to take out any herbs. We're going to get a spoon. And we're going to put a spoonful of the ratatouille inside. Okay. Now everybody argues about which way you go. I'm going to go spoonful of ratatouille. Then I'm going to go myself pasta on top. So on this one I put the round one, it fits perfectly. On this one with the square, just fold it up a little bit. Doesn't really matter, just so it covers. Tuck in the edges. Okay. Now I'm going to get the bechamel sauce. A little bit of bechamel in both. The importance of the bechamel is to cover the edges of the pasta. Okay. Then we're going to put a slice of mozzarella inside. Then we're going to repeat the same thing. So ratatouille inside. Okay. Again, slice the pasta on top. See, if you cut them, they fit perfectly. If not, as I said, tuck them in. Just make sure there's no pasta hanging over the outside because it will go crispy. Okay. A little more bechamel. If you find that you've got really small aubergines, don't worry too much. You can either cut them lengthways, or you can just put a bit of ratatouille on the bottom of the plate when you serve. As you see, there's no lumps in our bechamel. Very quick way to make it. If you've got any of these ingredients left over, you can always do a bechamel. Use it for a lasagna, or you could for a macaroni cheese or anything else. The pasta, if you've got any ratatouille left, you can put some on the bottom of the plate, or you can mix it. If you cook some penne pasta, it's amazing with penne pasta. So now we're going to just pop the mozzarella on the top. Okay, a little bit of salt and pepper. Now if you want to, it's up to you. You can add either a little bit of grated cheese, or you can add parmesan, or you can just pop it in the oven. So that's going to go back into the oven now. These are still quite hard because they've the firm bit, for about 20 minutes at 180. I've obviously done a bit of blue pizza style just for presentation, but we'll come back to that in a minute. So after 20 minutes, it will look like this. So that's literally just been in the oven for 20 minutes. I'm going to leave that on the side. You can see we've got the top, and we've got the... I'm going to put the pan on. We're now going to do our char-grilled artichokes. So I'm going to pop the pan on. As you can see, our sauce is nearly ready. If you can see, it's nice and... Now what we're going to do to that, we're going to add the double cream to the sauce. Again, you can use vegan cream if you... So we're just going to give that a little twiddle around. We want that nice bright yellow colour. I'm going to check the seasoning, add a little bit of pepper to it. Just going to let that simmer at the back. Just going to do a bit of washing up while I'm here. Right, so now we're going to go on to the artichokes. Obviously you can either buy marinated artichokes from the deli counter. Obviously at the moment they're not really open, the deli counters. So I just bought some tinned artichokes. We're just going to literally, if I can get them out, we're just literally going to cut them in half. They don't want to come out today. Okay, we're just going to drizzle a little bit of oil over them. Most of them normally have quite a lot of salt inside, so I won't put too much salt on them. So we're going to get our char-grilled pan nice and hot. I have turned the fire alarm off, so we should be okay. And we're literally just going to pop them in the pan. If you haven't got a char-grilled pan, you can just use a frying pan. Just going to pop them in there. I'm going to add a little bit of pepper. I'm not adding salt because they normally have salt in the water. You can check the ingredients. As I said, so you've got the aubergines in the oven. While they're in the oven, just going to char-grill these. We're just going to check the taste of our sauce. Yeah, I'm going to just put a little bit more pepper in my sauce. And then what we're going to do, we're going to strain the sauce. Now it's up to you. Some people actually do prefer to leave. Just going to put my artichokes together. So we've got a nice line, char-grilled artichoke. So we've got artichoke. So as I said, I'm going to strain the sauce. You can if you want to, you don't have to strain the sauce. The mushrooms and shallots are all cooked onions. So I'm just going to pour it through a little tea strainer, or a colander, whatever you have. This is it. We're just pouring the sauce. So So we get that beautiful yellow sauce. Just going to pop that there. Right now, hopefully, you're all forced up. As I said, there's quite a lot going on. If you're doing it at home, you can, make your bechamel, make the ratatouille. You can then build it separately. You don't need to do it all in one go. I've got some washed rocket. I'm just going to add a little bit of pepper, salt, sorry, and a splash of olive oil. So now we're going to plate up over here. These are nice, if you've seen nice chill, they're nice and warm. So we're going to pop our aubergine lasagna. Look at all that gooey cheese in the middle of the plate. Just remove the bits of caramelised cheese. We're going to pop our beautiful saffron sauce around. Me being a chef, we only always add odd numbers, so I'm going to add 3. Most chefs are paranoid that you can't put even numbers on the plate, so I'm going to go for 3 artichokes around the outside. I'm then going to put a little bit of my seasoned rocket. Remember, if you've got small aubergine, you can always add a bit of ratatouille on the bottom if you think it's not enough. I'm going to pop the rocket on the top, and then for presentation, we're going to have the top of the aubergine back. So now you've got individual baked Mediterranean aubergine lasagna with mozzarella, a beautiful turmeric or saffron sauce, char-grilled artichokes. So hopefully you will enjoy that. As I said, you can prepare certain parts the day before, or you can make it vegan or gluten-free if you use gluten-free flour and gluten-free pasta. Vegan, you can use soya milk when you make the bechamel. Next week, as I said, it's Father's Day's weekend, so we'll be making my favourite dish, which is roast lamb with mini shepherd's pie and roasted root vegetables. So it's mixing a modern dish and a classic dish together. And remember, if you're looking for any more recipes, you can buy the book at www.chefchriswheeler.com. It's £7.50 at the moment. That includes postage. I'll sign any message you want. So if you want to looking for a Father's Day for a perfect here as well. I'm also helping the Burnt Chef, which is looking after chefs in the industry. Check out their website, www.burntchef. They've got some great products. They've got aprons, water bottles, wristbands. It's all good for a good cause, helping people that are struggling at the moment with mental issues in catering. Hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you next Friday.